Haggerty. I'm Ryan West. We have a whole host of people with us. We've got Joseph. We've got CJ. I think we might have Chris later. We've got Scott back with us. And then I've also got Gino Manley joining me in the booth of Open Throttle Racing with the really, really cool green road car BMWs that have been converted into race cars, which I think is super cool. We always talk the talk about WRL being open to home-built cars and cars that aren't, purpose-built GT4 cars. And so here we are. We have the man who's kind of at the helm there. Are you an owner? Are you a part owner? How does that work?
They kind of just let me hang around and drive their cars and have a good time. I've helped develop both of these M3s. Mike Gorman, who owns Open Throttle Racing, we knew each other professionally, and obviously where I'm from, we're based in Jacksonville, Florida, so I like to tell people now that Brumos is gone, we're bringing racing back to Jacksonville.
Perfect.
With green M3s. But yeah, we're one of the teams out there. Again, in GTO, this has become pretty heavy hitting field with equipment, and we're one of the few teams that still runs coincidentally street legal road cars. And I know 89X has a couple out there and Screaming Goat. So yeah, we're the land of the real men driving street-based cars in GTO right now.
Perfect. And so the other thing I always hear too, and I'm sure it has to do with how the team is structured, but also not having these professional-based cars, is not only when people inquire on the WRL page, hey, what does a seat cost to get into GTO? You're one of the only teams that, like Mike Gorman, puts it out there. It's this much money if you want to come race. No one does that.
Sure.
And then additionally, I'm led to believe that, this is the cheapest way to go GTO racing, by far.
Yeah, make no mistake. Again, we are the entry-level, GTO team to get into this paddock and to get into this field. So our ideal driver is somebody who's been up through the GP fields. They've gained some experience, and they kind of want to, dip their toe into GTO racing and get into that field and get into a fast paddle shift car. Without having to spend, racing budgets now, like everyone says, every year are getting a little higher. So we're kind of at the entry level there, price-wise, and we'll get you behind the wheel of paddle shift DCT BMW. And if you like it and you like us, you're welcome to spend the season with us or longer. But if you want to move on to an M4 or GT4 based car, it's a good way to at least get into this field and kind of dice it up with these cars and experience what the faster class has to offer.
Perfect. And so, tell me a little bit how you got into racing. We touched on it off air for a little bit, but how do you go from you're working in the car business?
Sure.
We had a little discussion about that. I'm very familiar with it. How do you go from being in the car business to being a racing guy and doing? I know you're still in the car business, but how do you make that transition? What happens that makes you go, you know what? I'm in. I want to go try that.
So, I think a lot of people that are car guys end up in the car business, and to make that jump from liking cars to racing cars isn't that hard. So for me, 10 years ago, I was from autocross. I started doing, a bunch of grassroots endurance racing. Funny enough, I remember RJ when he was racing, and I remember when this series started. So I tell people, I've raced all over the world. I've raced professionally, and I've raced here in IMSA. To me, WRL is home. This is where I identify as, where I race. And again, I think that I wish more people, would make that jump from, I did a bunch of track days to kind of get into these paddocks. And I think RJ has done a fantastic, keeping the GP series alive to offer a home where somebody, a lot of these guys, I guarantee you there's a lot of people driving in this field today that are going to be in an IMSA field or a pro field probably next year, and they're gaining experience doing it here. So what an awesome, mid-level way to go racing and introduce people into, wheel and then on to even professional levels. So.
I gotcha. And so one of the things that I think is cool about WRL is it occupies that middle space, but it's really the value for money. And so you've done track days and stuff, and we all have a pretty good idea of what a track day costs. You're a mid to low 3-figure sum depending on where you're doing it, and you're going to get 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of running, something like that. But if you look at the cost breakdown here, the entry fee is a little bit on the steep side, but you're getting 2 8-hour days or a 9 and a 7 and the test day, and then usually there's a track day before. Dollar for dollar, I don't think there's a better deal in track time, much less, and you're racing at the same time.
Yeah, and again, there's a fine line. I don't ever want to discourage somebody from doing a D or a track day, because again, that's where you're going to get seats, and that's how you get into this. But again, it's funny. I always laugh. I see people complain about, hey, what are the entry fees on WRL getting so high? Well, they've never wrote a check for, an IMSA entry or an SRS. So right now, this is to go race against GT4 cars, in this style of paddock, this is still the best value that I've ever seen. So again, it's a fine line. But yeah, value for money and the amount of time I've been racing WRL since 17, and the amount of seat time you get, you are tired at the end of a WRL day. I mean, you in a good way, but you're going to do a lot of driving depending on what team you're with. So
absolutely. So one of the things, so you've been here since 2017. So let's go roughly when I think we did our first Coda race.
Okay.
And was it 17, Joseph, or 16?
17.
17. Okay, cool. And so, do you, Joseph, or Gino, either of you, can you imagine telling us back then that not only would there be professional GT4 teams running in WRL, but like people would be getting like tire deals? Like we now have like multiple teams in the field here that have like a tire deal. It is a tire war at this point. That's just insanity to me. Like I cannot fathom that.
It's the fact that it's the fact to me, Ryan, that they're household names. If you told me that a white label would come in and sponsor somebody, that would have made total sense to me. But the fact that it's this level is the thing that's crazy.
It's just absolutely crazy. I love seeing how it's grown, and I think that plays out mostly because of, it is that middle ground between, going to do the IMSA, and you're getting all the track time. So I think it's been really fantastic. So you had mentioned off air earlier, actually have these BMWs, the two green ones that are here, tagged, titled,
for sure,
insured, like ready to go.
We just raced another Series HSR Classic for at Daytona, and we actually had this on film because I'd finished our first race. Car was empty, and I had a tag in the car with me. I got out after the race, put a tag on the car, and we drove to the gas station. So yeah, they are still tagged and insured cars. Again, we have a lot of fun with them. Unofficially, hopefully no one from the Florida Highway Patrol is listening, but we do test them quite a bit, on 95, getting them ready for these races. So, again, they're well prepared. But I will wind back. I'll tell you a funny story. 17 Daytona, which was a race I was wearing the GP classes, when we had actually GP4, which people won't remember most of the paddock. I remember an NPO1 came out to that race, and it was like the biggest deal in the world. Like, look at this car, and to see where the series has come, in a relatively short period of time. I mean, I'm looking at an R8, GT4 car out there. It's just, there's the series growth has been huge, and you talk about sponsor deals and things like that, and right now motorsport is kind of like where golf was, 10 years ago when Tiger was playing, and so
absolutely.
The amount of eyes on this, even on on an amateur paddock like this, is immense, and everyone can relate to cars, and so I guarantee you. Continental and Cooper and all the people involved with this, they're getting a huge, increase, market share wise, because they're dealing with people that are car people. They want to help the people that are supporting the series. So.
Gotcha. No, it's super awesome. It's a great paddock to be in. I look forward to doing this every single year. This is the highlight of my year. Is finally getting the time off that I can try to get. That's the one thing I don't understand about you is I'm in the car business, and it's pulling teeth to get time off to come do this.
I get this all the time, and first off, I'm with a fantastic dealer group in Jacksonville who gives me a lot of latitude. They understand that this is a very, very big component of my life. So one weekend a month I get to go play race car driver, and I'll take the suit off tomorrow night. I'll be back in Jacksonville Monday, and people won't even know what happened this weekend. So I try extremely hard to separate my two lives to be able to do that. So
perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I always got the you want a Saturday off? You can't do that. So that's always for me. That's just seeing you get out here and do this. That's super awesome.
Coincidentally, I generally race when I'm in the GP series. Race a lot of Mazdas and GTO, and so it's actually two of our brands. So more than likely, one of these cars, one of the M3s, I'll probably snag and stick in the showroom next week, just to have it. So they support it because again, it's a big component of my life too. But also from everyday perspective, again, it's easy to talk about someone with BMW when I can say, hey, I was doing this weekend and this one.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense almost. So
100%. I get you. What I learned here is I need to sell for a better brand.
There you have it.
Hard to sell the virtues of racing when you're selling Corollas. I guess now we've got the Supras and stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything you want to put out there for the fans, the people at home, the family, the friends, any sponsors that you have, anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, even us being a smaller grassroots team, we've had exceptional support from Hawk Performance, and we run the R1 Performance Brake Compound on everything we're racing, and we're in a bunch of different paddocks. Not just here. We weren't Miaz with another series that was here last weekend. So yeah, and the biggest thing is folks that are listening to this, if they're a track day or DE person, look us up, Open Throttle Racing. Again, we have a path where you can literally come right in one of these cars, whether it's one of our NA Miatas, our E46, up to the M3s, and we give you a path to be able to start very, very fresh, move you up through the grassroots series, and maybe come here, and then our hope is to get enough people through our program. And we love to see our customers end up, running GT4 cars and things like that. So it means we did our job. We introduced them to the series in a safe way to be able to do it at a good cost, at a cost-effective way. So no, that's that. If people don't want to get involved, friends, family, look us up. We are the entry-level team, or at least trying to be in the paddock here. So
perfect. Well, I'm more than happy to have more options available for everybody to get into this. I think it's really easy, especially at the GT only weekend, to see. It's like, oh my gosh, and you've got haulers and tents and RVs and all. And so hearing that there's a way that there is a path even here, thinking of WRL as part of a larger path in terms of track day to I want to go run at Le Mans. It's a rung on that ladder, but even in the smaller scale, if you want to go from track day to running here, there's a ladder available to do that.
You say that, but again, I consider myself a product of the WRL, paddock, where I've gotten to race, a lot of higher level stuff, because coming through here. But you walk through this paddock, and some of the names that are running in this series, and I'm not going to name drop a lot of them, but I mean, there are some pretty heavy hitters right now that you guys see every weekend on TV running in WRL. So, again, my hat's off to RJ and to everyone there to make this happy grand. Again, this is they walk a very fine line, because it's. I was telling you off the air, racing out there, just the way the field is, the speed is, and the moves you're having to make. Again, it feels very IMSA-esque with how you're managing gaps out there versus when it's the traditional 90-car field where you're just trying to maintain yourself in traffic. So really different feel. I was very skeptical about racing the GT only race, but even though we're having some trouble today and both of our cars have been in and out of the garage, again, just the level of driving has been very high, and honestly, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't really know which one I enjoy more, whether there's this or the traditional multi-class racing format we usually do. So, but I applaud me again. It's been for years. There's always been the, hey, do we have is the field time-wise spread too high with the GP3 classes up to the GTO? And so at least they're trying to do something about it. And really, I think at the end of the weekend, this is a thumbs up. I don't know how feasible it is for them to do. The car count isn't super deep in this race. Again, I think it gave a blueprint that, hey, we can do this to some of the races and have it make sense. So
my understanding is a lot of people got scared off by the rain, and I think my hope is that it rain, or that it only rains a little bit, and they go, oh, I could have gone, I could have done it, like, the rain wasn't that bad. I understand as like an owner that you don't want to be reckless with stuff. You want to preserve what you got. But I mean, it's racing. We're out here, we're doing it.
I raced it here last, or not, I guess in June, and it was raining, and mind you, Road Atlanta in the rain, it's very treacherous. It's not a great thing. And particularly in our cars, because we're still in street-based cars, we don't have racing traction control like the GT4 cars have. So it is a little more of a challenge. I have a great time doing it, but again, we've got some newer drivers. In fact, the car I'm in, we had some drivers that come over from the UK just for this event. They race the Historics and P3 over in the UK, and so they wanted to get this off their bucket list. So again, to throw them out there and not be super familiar with Road Atlanta in the rain, as somebody who's been involved in ownership and a leadership role in some teams, it's not a great thing, but I think that again, for as a series, I think we should kind of encourage it. So,
and we're going to go back to green here. The Stratus Racing number 59 is going to lead us to the green flag, followed by the 28, the 127, and the 134 as they all go into turn 1. Thank you for coming to hang out with us.
Thank you. I got to jump back in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Have fun.